Hello! So this is my video on INTJs, and some of my best friends in my life have been INTJs. So there seems to be a natural match with from INTPs and INTJs. Uh, they're considered one of the most intelligent types, along with INTPs. If you look online, you'll usually see that INTJs and INTPs sort of are competing for the most intelligent personality type. And then I think the other types that are at the very top are INFPs and INFJs. But in my opinion, the INFPs and INFJs are just as intelligent, uh, but they're intelligent in sort of different ways. Um, so the INTJs, they sort of have a scientific method about them because their dominant function is introverted intuition. So it just sort of knows things and it builds mental models. But their secondary function is extroverted thinking. So it just wants to organize and stuff. So it's like extroverted thinking is sort of like carrying out experiments, and then they gather information through their dominant perception through the introverted intuition. So they're natural scientists, and that's actually a lot different than the INTPs because the INTPs are natural philosophers, and the thinking is totally different. So it's kind of impossible to say which one's more intelligent. Uh, INTJs are more functionally intelligent because they'll probably get more accomplished than INTPs, at least directly. The INTPs' ideas might be like incredible to society, however, but I'm just using that as a comparison. Uh, the INTJs, they tend to be like extremely self-confident and do very well in school, even without trying. Like they could go through high school and be like top top academics and like barely do any homework or anything because they just sort of can hear it once and then they know it, and they could just figure things out on a test as they go. Uh, so yeah, they're very confident and they tend to have a very sarcastic humor. If you were to meet an INTJ or they became intrigued with you and they wanted to become your friend, they would probably start by sort of trying to associate with you in some way, sort of inch up to you and maybe be kind. But very quickly, they would turn on their sarcasm and their extreme honesty and uh, lack of tact and sort of insult you because they kind of have to say what they think is wrong with another person or what they're doing. And it might not be correct, but uh, that's sort of what they do. So if you can put up with the INTJ insulting you over and over again, uh, and just stick around uh, through all of the emotional turmoil, they'll probably become like best friends with you, and they're actually very sensitive friends, and they get very close to people, but they tend to not be close to very many people. They only have like a few really good friends that they want to be around, and they're not exactly the most popular uh, personality type. Like they don't have a ton of friends usually. Uh, yeah, so I wrote about INTJs. I was going to do that, but I decided to sort of wing it. Uh, but I guess I can emphasize one thing: the INTJ, their third function is introverted feeling, so they're very sensitive inside, but they're like assholes on the outside, like really. So you wouldn't know that they're like that. Let's see. If you want to get a good picture of what the average INTJ is like when they're using their like sarcastic sense of humor and self-confidence, look up the chess champion Bobby Fischer because he's like a walking example of them. Let's see what I some of the things I wrote. Yeah, they tend to have like a massive interest in like science fiction, um, sort of like B-rate science fiction movies, um, strategic thinking, strategy games, video games, uh, academics. Uh, when they get older, they what they generally do is they become professionals in a field. So they'll sort of go through school and be very introverted with a few close friends and maybe some bizarre interests, and then they sort of blossom into their professional life when they're older, while other personalities might be sort of like dying down. The INTJs are really blossoming outwardly, and their extroverted thinking becomes an incredibly powerful force to be reckoned with because they have all of this insight from their dominant function, introverted intuition, and then their secondary function is developed later. And so the extroverted thinking is just like a force. It's a force, and the INTJs are some of the longest range planners in existence. And if they want to execute a plan, it's usually flawless. Their their strategic intelligence is based off of contingency. So when you play chess, what you're doing is you're mapping out possibilities. There's a set of rules, and which goes in turn with extroverted thinking, because the outward environment has a set of rules. So they want to figure out the set of rules through the scientific method, and just like in chess, and then they want to figure out, well, what can I do? Like, I could do plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so that's how they sort of think. It sort of goes out. It's if A fails, we can do B. If B fails, we can do B subsection 3, and so on. They're masters of that sort of thinking. So they would actually be very good in military strategy, stuff like that. I actually heard one example. The in chess, um, the INTPs would, I think they would want to like change what you could do with the pieces. Oh, like, oh, instead of the horse moving like an L, they would want to make it do something else. The ENTJs would want to strategically place their pieces, but then also place the opponent's pieces as well, because they want to control the opponent. And the INTJ would just be like the chess mastermind, working within the system, but doing it uh, like flawlessly, basically. Um, yeah, so their inferior function, their weakness, is extroverted sensing. Um, but it's kind of hard to notice in them for some reason. I guess they can. I don't know, because most of the ones I've known, they've kind of got in touch with the extroverted sensing. They like enjoy nature and would hike and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not really sure. But they tend to have mental blind spots and overconfidence, which is sort of a weakness. Uh, they have a really good sense of humor. Uh, I guess another example of what looks like an INTJ to me is from American Idol, Simon Cowell, because he's always like bluntly saying what's on his mind, but is sarcastically funny at the same time. But it still sort of hurts people's feelings. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I probably have a lot more written down, but that's the INTJ, and they're super smart.